souls. This is Dr. JuJu Love. Today, we are going to do some emotional processing. We currently are going through a lot of very intense emotional period as a collective, especially in America. And with that, it's also stirring up each individual's emotional things as well. So I decided that it's a good practice. It's always a good practice to do our inner processing. Emotions are very, very important factor in our lives because emotion is known as energy in motion. So if you are not aware already that it is actually known factor in a way that we are all energy, vibrational beings. Even the physical being, our physical body is a vibratory being. And not only we have this physical body, but we also have the emotional body, mental body, spiritual body, all kinds of bodies I don't even know the names for. But our being is a collective consciousness of all these aspects of who we are, not just this physical body. And, you know, people sort of like categorize emotions as some are good and some are bad, but there are no such things as good emotions or bad emotions in truth, because they are all important aspects of our lives. I hope you could hear me. Okay, I just took something out here. So it is important that we allow these emotions take its own course, but in the way it's constructive rather than destructive. So when we allow the emotions to be processed in a constructive manner, it helps us to transform, evolve, and become better. Whereas if we don't, if we allow the emotions to take charge of us rather than we consciously processing those emotions, then we become more like enslaved to these emotions, and those become sort of like our patterns that run our lives. And it runs in a subconscious way, so we don't even realize where this is happening. So I just want this, hopefully it's not too long. We're just going to be basically scratching the surface, but hopefully it gives you some insight on how you could really learn to feel and process emotions in a way with awareness, conscious awareness, so that it doesn't become a hindrance to you, but it becomes something that really helps you grow inside and out. So hopefully you identify something that there's a bother for you that you want to bring to surface today. So with that in mind, even if you don't know anything, we could just generally check in and just go from there. So this is not really a meditation session. It's more like interactive integration session. I don't want to call it work because it's a play, okay? So as we begin, let's just tune in. And tune in, you could close your eyes and just breathe and do your best to just put your focus inward and just scan yourself, scan your body for any discomfort, any pains, and just tune into that inner part of you. Place your focus in your heart center so your guidance comes from that place. And just tune in and know that you are cosmically connected to this divine energy, and that you are this divine energy expressed through this physical vessel that you live through. And just breathe in deeply through your nose. And exhale. One last deep breath. And exhale. So hopefully you are more grounded and calm, and they are more connected with your body. So using your intuitive guidance, because we are all connected to our spiritual being, and we're just using that and bring awareness to that connection, because there's no way we could actually separate ourselves from our divine connection. The only thing that separates us from connecting to that would be our minds, because we may trip ourselves thinking that we're not connected. These are happening through the thoughts, and then emotions get triggered, and then we may experience separation. So these become patterns, and it's like subconscious programming that we want to kind of upgrade so that we don't do the same thing all the time, creating the same current reality that we somehow want to change. So if you keep doing what we always have done, we're going to keep getting what we always have gotten. So this is a great moment to change some of those patterns that you don't want to repeat. So you could do this with your eyes open, eyes closed. But first, there are 3 steps in doing the emotional play, no hard work yet. Oh my God, this I have to fix. Are, I say triple A's. First, awareness. Second, acknowledgement. And the third is allow. So that's, and I guess the last would be like embody, but those 3 A's are very important. So let's tune in and see whether you have any kind of feelings that current state of your being, and see whether you could tune into any sort of emotion that you are aware of, or if you don't, maybe it becomes aware to you. So just briefly tune in and see whether there's any discomfort, because when the energy that always has to flow is blocked, energy, emotion, when that is not flowing the way it's supposed to, it gets blocked, then it becomes a problem. And if it's unprocessed emotion and that blocks energy flow over time, if it's not addressed, if it hasn't been processed, at some point it's going to come out as a real physical problem, like diseases or actual physical conditions. So initially, emotions are like our compass to let us know where our energy is, what our energy state is at the moment. And we run through those things, and then even though sometimes it could be uncomfortable, sometimes it's ecstatically joyful, but we need to get them all flow, because we can't hold on to anything. We need to just let them flow, so the next thing comes, and the next thing comes. So that if we don't listen to those energetic compass, the messengers as emotions, then later on our physical body is going to actually send us messages saying something needs to be taken care of, there's something amiss, and then that becomes our physical pains and discomfort, diseases. Dis-ease. When we are not at ease, then that's what happens. We bring that onto ourselves. So tune in and first identify, become aware, consciously aware of what you're feeling. And name it. Is this some kind of, is it a depressive feeling? Is it like an anxiety, nervousness? Is it fear, worry, frustration? And name that and describe the quality. And that's acknowledging part. Describe the quality. Describe where you're feeling this. Where are you having this feeling? Take some moments and explore that using your consciousness, becoming consciously aware of this process that's happening. So you could look at your emotions like a visitor. It is not who you are, but it is something that is passing through you. So you don't identify it as if it is you. It is not you. It is an energy that is being processed through you. So you have a visitor. Sometimes this visitor needs something. And you just ask, what can I do? Are you hurt? Are you in pain? Are you sad? And you basically help that guest to get what it needs to get through being processed through you. And you, as the guest, the emotion who is a guest, feels safe and be able to do what it needs to do. Then as the guest leaves, it leaves a gift for you. So ask your guest, are you safe? Do you feel safe? And if it isn't, let it know that you are in a safe place. You are holding the safe place for it to be a great guest, and it's a welcome guest. You're not going to throw it out the door or window. So just tune in with it, and whatever you're feeling, name it, identify it, the name, quality, the placement. Maybe there's a color association. Maybe there's a smell association. As you're doing this and allowing it to be, ask yourself whether it looks familiar, it feels familiar to you. Have you felt this before? You felt something like this before? When was the last time you felt something like this? Don't use your mind, analysis paralysis. When we actually try to process our emotions with our minds, we actually don't actually allow the emotions to process, but we just process, and also it may actually bring us back into the past rather than processing it in this here and now moment. So we could do that afterwards to get an insight also, but right now, be in the body, feel it, ask yourself, when was the last time I felt this? Be honest. Just whatever comes to you organically, intuitively first, go with that. Don't try to get the answer, logical answer. It's not logical. It's just whatever it is. You already know. You trust yourself. Keep breathing through all this process, because breath is going to be flowing continuously to keep you in the present moment. Don't hold your breath and fall back into the past and then stay there. You don't want to time travel backwards. You want to be here right now, so you could actually help you process the past that you've carried forward. And now once you find out when you felt this last time, now go back and see when was the first time when was the first time I've ever experienced this in the first place? When was it? And what was that? What happened at that time? What happened to you? And again, don't try to think. Whatever comes to you first, intuitively, go with that. Oftentimes, the first experience would be when you are young, because when we were very little, it was a very formative years, and that's when we were actually getting our, in a way, all our programming is set around those times. So we learn how to be currently who you are in those days by observing, by experiencing stuff, sometimes basically forced upon you. Parents are doing their best, but they only do their best from their own conscious awareness. We are living in a society, so the schools and cultures and your religious groups, and if you have such things, they all contributed to molding you the way, shaping you the way you are, shaping your subconscious programming. So some of those things are helpful, but some of those things are not. And especially those things that were sort of painful are going to be repeated, because whatever you did at the moment, the first time, and if you survive through it, your brain likes patterns, so it's going to repeat itself when it's encountered with something similar again. And then if you don't catch it 10 years later, 20 years later, if you don't catch that pattern and just let the brain to just do its autopilot programming, then it's just going to run your life. And brain is going to do that because it's efficient, and it's doing its job. It tries to keep you alive, trying to save you from whatever the trouble or difficult times or danger. So to tune in and see when was the first time you experienced these emotions. Keep breathing, keep breathing, keep being in the present moment, and to see yourself in that first moment when you experience this particular program, the beginning of this program, subconscious programming. And see where you are. Are you in it as a first person based experience? Or are you witnessing this from the third person perspective? If it's a child, then ask your child that is you what it needs. Ask what she or he needs to feel better at that moment, and do that for him, for her. As who you are, as a grown-up version of you, often she or he needs to feel safe. So provide that to know that she or he is safe, she is enough, she is loved, she is cherished, adored, and she is important and needed. The world needs her. The world needs him. And be in this space and give all that the inner child needs, the traumatized child needs. And see where you are. Are you still the third person, the first person? Where are you? And see how that situation feels to you now. Does it still have the same kind of this uncomfortable or stressful, that feeling that you had before? Is it still the same quality, or does it still have any trigger to, or does it have did it um, evolve into something that is not really no longer a trigger? Do you feel peaceful with that situation? So stay with it for as long as you need to resolve the situation. If it is too difficult for you to resolve it in that space, then we could always come back, visit again. So right now, let's come back to the present moment. So now you understand it's awareness, conscious awareness. We were told that we are this unlimited being, but our consciousness is operating at its like 5%. That's very little. So we constantly bring out those parts that's unconscious to us. So this is the conscious awareness. So we are actually tuning in to become conscious of something that has been sort of under the water. So this is doing the inner play of emotions. So awareness, acknowledge that it is there, and then you allow it to be what it needs to be. So let's just say, for example, a lot of times people want to they don't want to go to anger because it doesn't feel good. They think it's destructive. It could be dangerous. It could hurt somebody, and we call it negative emotion. But it is not a negative emotion. It's only negative, looked at it as negative when it was expressed in a way that is harmful to the person and the surroundings. But energy of anger is a motive power. When somebody's angry, it has that engine, it's powerful energy behind to actually change something. You makes you go forward and do something about something that you are angry about. It comes from the inside. So just like what happened recently, people were totally, I mean, it really brought up so much pent up energy, the emotions, and it really mobilized people to do something in a positive way. And then there are people who are actually utilizing it in um, destructive way. But we want to utilize all emotions in a constructive way. So that is the inner play that we need to learn to practice. And that just requires three things: awareness, acknowledgement, and allowing. And then as we go through these things, you sit with it, and then you think for what how it came, and then what it taught you. And if there are people involved, you also forgive yourself, forgive them. If they were brought challenge to you, for you to overcome in a way, in an emotional way, they actually gave you a gift to be able to um, utilize this emotion, this event that brought the emotion, for you to level up, to be um, even better than where you were before. So we could always think, and I know it's really hard to be in that grateful or even forgiving mode when something such terrible and unforgivable thing happens. But we really just have to know that from human perspective, yes, it could be such that it seems impossible to, but there have been plenty of people who rose above all those preconceived notions as what is forgivable and what is not. So let's just tune into the consciousness of the divine rather than consciousness of the collective anger or collective destructive energy. If we're going to connect with the collective consciousness, let's connect to put in the positivity rather than the negativity. All right, so that's my emotional play for today. I hope this was helpful. This is actually a really a topic that could go so much deeper, and I just did whatever I could in this short time. Hopefully it was helpful for you. If you need more help, you could always reach out to me. You could email me, ask@drjujulove.com, or you could always send me a message through here. And I just wish you the best. I wish you loads and loads and loads of love, blessings, always. I love you all, and I'll see you next time. Namaste.